Hey everybody, welcome back. Here's a great piece of classic psychology which is going to teach you an awful lot and give you a good parameter for looking at why people do the things that they do. Because people will always follow this system. That's why this system has been looked at, talked about, discussed, attacked, and it always holds up. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What you need first, going from the bottom, okay, the fundamentals, the core, the base, going up and up and up until you hit all the way from physical needs to self-actualization. It will always go in this sequence too. When you lose a lower one, you'll go back down to it until you secure it again, and then you'll go up to the higher ones. So let's take a look at these and kind of break them down. So, first thing you need to know is that we will do virtually anything to get these needs met. These are our primary drives. We need these like oxygen. Matter of fact, you'll notice breathing under physiological needs, okay, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep, is the first thing. It literally is the same. We need it like oxygen. So the bottom one will always get met. Why? Because this drive comes first. You are hardwired as an animal to survive, to adapt. That's why we're the highest level of creature. Intelligence, adaptivity, and a passionate desire to live. Now, every animal has that, and we're no different from every other animal. So, I want you to know that until you get your physical needs met, you won't worry about anything else. Matter of fact, I kind of skip over safety and security. Why? It's simply the locking in of the physical needs. We don't need to do a separate training on that. So the first thing you want to do is survive, and then make sure you continue to survive. I consider it kind of a continuation. Now, this creates a myriad, I've been trying to work myriad into a sentence for quite a while, a myriad of problems and stressors. One, when we're working on physical needs and safety and security, we forget everything else. We are focused like a laser. Like I had stuck your head underwater, and the only thing you were concerned about, you're not doing taxes in your head or worrying about what the government's doing or are my kids okay? You know, you're worried, am I going to get that next breath? You're not doing your taxes in your head. Boom, you forget everything else. We will do things we don't want to do. If you're starving to death and I give you a bowl of live crickets, you'll probably eat them. Depends on how hungry you are, right? We will make amazing sacrifices. We will make errors. We will lose things because of this. Jobs, relationships, even our freedom. We will make careless decisions that have long-term impact, and ultimately, we may hurt ourselves or others. That's why it's dangerous to be at these lower levels. You want to quickly go up this scale as fast as you can, because your happiness is going to increase, and you're going to have less challenges. Now, your next one, which is a great level to be at, but also brings what? A myriad of problems and stressors, is your need to belong. We want to belong, we want to be loved, we want to be liked, we want to be desired, we want to have love and passion and friendship in our life. It is one of our primary needs. People are like, oh, I don't need anybody in my life and I don't need friends and blah, blah, blah. Oh no. By our very nature, we are hardwired to be social creatures. What's the worst torture they can do to you in a jail? Now, not a government jail. You know, I mean, well, yeah, government jail, but not a military government jail. What's the worst torture they can do to you? Solitary confinement. Why? Because they know if they leave you alone with you long enough, you will drive you insane because you need human contact. It's a real and primary drive. Now, it was like air for you when you were a teenager, if you remember those days. So, let's look at the myriad of problems and stressors it causes. Peer pressure, obviously, excessive people-pleasing, conformity, guilt. You'll have this fear of abandonment. You're so excited and you have this new love of your life. What's your very next thought? Oh God, I hope they don't leave me. That's your fear of abandonment. Jealousy, if anybody ever looks at this new love of my life, you know. Low self-esteem. Bad relationships. So there can be a lot of challenges. I want you to watch out for these, but I want you to realize that everybody is going to have these issues when they get to the love and belonging stage. Now, let's look at self-esteem. Remember, we said we will always match our self-image. Every man, every woman is perfectly being who they are. That's the old Zen philosophy. It's never been proven wrong. So your self-esteem and your self-image, think of those two words. Self-esteem is the way in which you esteem yourself, and self-image is your image of yourself. I use these things interchangeably because there's very little variation. So think of both, even though Maslow only put in one. So when you try to build up your self-esteem and feel better about yourself, now that you got a little friendship, a little love, a little belonging, your self-esteem still isn't where you want it to be, so you start working on that. When you're doing that, you get a myriad of problems and stressors. Feeling we aren't good enough, feeling like, you're noticing all your limitations. You notice that you have a lot of programmed responses that aren't always positive. Again, the fear of abandonment and jealousy. Low self-esteem is obviously the issue. Even the fear of low self-esteem. I wonder if my esteem's high enough. Well, people who wonder that's high enough probably feel that it isn't, right? Self-doubt, self-hate. You getting on you. Remember, your ego loves to do that to you. It'll make you try to doubt yourself. And it'll make you hate yourself. Oh, you could have worked harder on that. Everybody else is loving you because you did a great job on it. Oh, but you didn't give it 100%. Could you have done more? Yup. Then you should feel bad about the percentage that you didn't do. Your inner critic is brutal. Brutal. You could have a perfect day where you absolutely crush it. Even your ego has to agree that you did an amazing job. You know what your ego will say? Huh, you won't be able to keep that up for long. These are some of the challenges you're going to have at this stage. Now, just to reiterate, most of what we do day in and day out is to get our needs met. Remember, we talked in the last section about logic systems and the E over I. This is another piece of the logic system when you're trying to figure out why people do what they do. Go back to this triangle, go back to this hierarchy of needs, and say, where is this person? They're going to try to maintain where they are, and they're going to try to excel to the next level. This will determine, in a lot of different ways, what they do and will become part of their logic system. So make sure you're incorporating it in. Look at where you are on the scale. And in this section here, I want to talk about that purple section up top, self-actualization. They estimate that no more than anywhere, it depends on who you like in the literature, somewhere between maybe 10% and 1% of people will ever become self-actualized. The reason it's hard to get a hard number on that is agreeing what self-actualization is and when you've hit that. I have achieved greatness. How do you measure that? When do you know when you hit it? So based on the criteria you got, even if we're all measuring it accurately, when the criteria changes, the numbers will change. Does that make sense? Good. So in broad strokes, and let's go back to Maslow, the way he defined it, self-actualization is when you've reached an area where you're worried about morality, creativity, spontaneity. You now have acceptance in your life. You understand how life works. You have experience and purpose and meaning, and you're simply working on, you've got everything else nailed down. Physiological needs, not a problem. Safety and security, locked in. Loved and feeling belonged, perfect. Good self-esteem, check, 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 check. Now you go to the higher levels. You may be one of the people in the higher levels, because people that are lower levels, okay, that are trying to get safety and security and physiological needs, they wouldn't be taking a course like this. You're probably in the loving or belonging stage, which means you have some intimacy, you have some friends, but you would like to build your self-esteem and jump to that level and lock that in and feel like you have really good self-esteem. Now, some people, smaller percentage taking this course, maybe top 30%, will be in the self-esteem level saying, I want to reach actualization. I've got all these things locked in, but I don't feel perfect. I don't feel like I have the tools, the knowledge, the information, the wisdom to go to the next level. I'm missing something. I've been cheated out of information. And I'll tell you, whether you're at the love of belonging or the self-esteem or even at the physiological needs level, you've been cheated out of this information. I said that was one of the goals. I want to give you the information you need to understand how the game of life is played, bam, so you can win. This will help you with all of these levels. When you're trying to, make sure you're at the physiological level where you're trying to make sure there's not too much month at the end of the money. You're at the safety and security where you're trying to lock in your finances and family and social stability. When you're at the love and belonging, the self-esteem, and even going up to the self-actualization, these skills will help you. Okay, that's it for this session, and I'll see you in the next training.